we all know what Joe Schoen did, and it didn't look pretty when it came to Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley went on this past year to have almost a record-breaking season, almost passing Eric Dickerson. If he played that final game, I think he breaks Eric Dickerson's record. And then what he did in the playoffs with the touchdowns, I think he had 5 or 6 touchdowns. He had one of the best running back runs we've ever seen a running back have throughout the playoffs. No, he didn't have a great Super Bowl, but we all know what Spagnuolo likes to do, and he likes to stop one strength to attack the other. And that's what they did. They shut down Saquon Barkley. He had 57 rushing yards for 23 or 24 attempts. He didn't have a very good Super Bowl, but it didn't matter. They won the Super Bowl, and one of the main reasons why they got to the Super Bowl was because of Saquon. But what we saw through Hard Knocks is a guy that was a deer in the headlights. I don't really think that Joe Schoen actually knows or knew what he was doing when it came to Saquon Barkley. It's very hard to predict what a guy's going to do when he goes to another organization unless you have the last name Barkley. And Barkley proved it once again as a player, not only coming from Penn State and doing what he did at Penn State and then going to the Giants and putting up the numbers for the couple of years that he was there with the Giants, going to the Eagles, and this had record-breaking numbers for a Philadelphia Eagle team that has had problems over the years since LaShawn McCoy when it comes to running the ball. And I will say this, what Joe Schoen stands for, we don't know. Did he have a good draft last year? He had a decent draft. I know Fish is going to say he had a quality draft, but we have to see what these guys are going to do in their sophomore and junior years. These guys are going to have to develop as players. We've seen what Dexter Lawrence has become, but that wasn't Joe Schoen's guy. That was Gettleman's guy. He drafted him at 16, and he's turned out to be a pretty good get. As we all know, we call him Gettleman. But nevertheless, I just look at this Joe Schoen story to be a joke. I really think he is the mockery of the New York Giants. I think the Giants obviously are going to have to make a decision at the end of this coming season if he's there to stay or he's there to go. And that means he's going to be taking his coach with him in Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll has been a failure since he's been coach of the year with the Giants and taking the Giants to a playoff run and knocking off the Minnesota Vikings. And that was with a Daniel Jones that you decided, yes, Joe Schoen decided to give him a $40 million a year contract. And he's still paying him right now. He's paying him to the bank. As Daniel Jones right now is going to be looking for a job this offseason and might be playing in the CFL or the UFL or whatever FL you want to call it. Giant fans will probably call it the FUCK League because they couldn't stand him. But I don't think they gave him a chance to survive or be successful. And one of the main reasons why is you traded his best piece. Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't trade him. You let his best piece go in free agency. At least you could have traded him and got something for him, which me and Fish were talking about earlier. I just think right now the Giants are an organization that are trying to breathe. They're trying to breathe, and they're on a respirator. They're just like the Jets. The Jets have been around on a respirator for 55 years, and the Giants have been on a respirator for the last 10. I have no idea where this organization is heading. I just don't know if Joe Schoen's the guy. And if you look at the statistics would tell you that he is going to fail and fail miserably. I read what Pat Leonard said. I also see what other different, obviously writers think of Joe Schoen. We still don't know what Joe Schoen is or what he could be as a GM because he was handed a team that really didn't have many pieces. The pieces that they did have, he decided to part ways with. And he kept one piece that has looked like, you don't need to be much of a genius to know what Dexter Lawrence is. But I just think that the Giants right now have so many holes to fill. They're so weak in so many different areas. They're drafting at 3. I do believe they should move up at 1 for a quarterback. Cam Ward is definitely the guy for them. There are other teams that are looking to jump the Giants and jump the Browns to get him. If the Giants were smart, they don't let any team jump and pounce on him. Just go up and get your guy. Because if you don't, just like somebody playing for the Commanders, you're going to wonder if you did the right thing drafting a Travis Hunter or drafting one of these other guys that everybody is saying that the Giants could draft. We'll find out what the combine is this coming week. I'm interested to see how these players pan out. We all know Shedeur Sanders is not throwing at the combine. So if the Giants are expected to go after him at 3, the Giants are going to have to go to his pro day and kiss Deion Sanders' ass at the pro day, because that's the only place you're going to see Deion Sanders, because he's not going to be at the combine. But I just wonder, watching Hard Knocks and I know Joe Schoen's asking different execs and asking different people what they thought about Hard Knocks. I'm sure he was embarrassed. How could you not be? Your owner and John Mara was walking out of your office and said, before walking out, if he goes to the Eagles, it's catastrophical. And then he walks out shaking his head, and then what? 48 hours, he signs with the Eagles. And I could only imagine what John Mara is trying to do to Joe Schoen in the locker room or in his office when the cameras aren't there. He's probably grabbing him by the neck and trying to choke him to death. Because when you lose a player of that magnitude, when you lose your superstar, your guy, your face of your organization, you got to make sure, you got to make damn sure that you're going to put this team in the right position at that position to succeed. And going after a guy, I don't know what they call himself, Truck. What is his nickname, Speedy? I don't know. Motor, I'm sorry. Motor. And then I know all these guys, I know every Giant fan loves this kid, Tracy. We don't know what he is. He had a good rookie season. You're going to have to do that consecutively, and he's going to get his chance this year because more than likely he is going to be the number 1 for the New York Giants. I just think you have to hesitate what Joe Schoen has said over the last couple of months, and then hesitate what you saw as he really showed himself as the leader and the executive of not the year of the New York Giants. I mean, he was in an absolute embarrassment, and he didn't look very good asking his son, his daughters, what they would do in the draft. It didn't look very well. And by the way, his son was really right about Jaden Daniels. I mean, maybe he should have listened to him. He should have traded up for Jaden. I don't know if the Commanders would have allowed that, but hey, no. Maybe you trade the bank. Maybe you move the bank to get somebody like Jaden Daniels, because you see the Commanders, you see how successful you are when you have a quarterback in place.